Well. We didn't expect that, did we? Let's be honest. West Ham were awful in that game. The game was actually finished. Burnley 1, West Ham United 2, in what was a really exciting end to what had been a completely turgid, boring, awful match in which Burnley were the better team. For most of that game, Burnley were the better team. And I've got to say, very rare that I watch a game and have a little bit of sympathy for the opposition. I've got to be honest with you. I did a little bit on that. They were really, really good, Burnley. But West Ham were poor. It's awful. This is going to sound like I'm moaning, but I've got to say I'm delighted with that win because that puts us in a really healthy position in the Premier League. But if I make this sound terrible for the first 3/4 of this video, it's because it was. You know what? You can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. And we definitely got a lot of glitter at the end of that game. Where do I start? We barely threatened the goal in the first half. We had Danny Ings playing up front, which was... Look, nobody's going to be surprised with the fact that he was completely ineffective, Danny Ings. It didn't work. Whether David Moyes learns from that now, particularly given the nature of the equaliser, I don't know. We'll get to that. We will get to that. But it was ineffective stuff. I talk about sympathy. I had some sympathy for Danny Ings, actually. What chance has he got in the system that we play? Absolutely none. I thought it was... I was surprised how little creativity how much endeavour, how much we tried to prize Burnley open. We showed them far too much respect. Don't get me wrong; they're a decent team, and in Colio's show they had the best. Well, actually, up to the point they had the best player on the pitch. Turns out they didn't. We did. It was Mohamed Kudus, but for a lot of that game, he was the best player on the pitch. Yeah, but aside from that, we gave him far too much respect. We sat off. We invited him onto us far too much. Tomas Soucek had quite a tame header at the very start of the game, first 2 or 3 minutes, I'd imagine. After that, I don't think we did a lot. I don't think we forced the keeper into much trouble at all. When myself and Gio did the build-up show, when we did the not the build-up show, when we did the preview, Gio was talking about James Trafford and how he was nervous. Well, we didn't test him. We didn't test him at all. And I cannot be the only one. I cannot be the only one who, going into 80 minutes in that game, was thinking, well, we not only are we going to lose, because we'd shown nothing to suggest we were gonna win that game at all. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I was writing the obituaries for David Moyes. I really, really was. However, the old bounce back ability must be something. We've done that twice now in consecutive games. And I've got to say, the hero of the day on both games, we'll talk about Kudus. Kudus was our best player, but the hero of the day on both games has been Tomas Soucek, who is in really, really good goal-scoring form. And I guess Moyes made, as much as I think he got the starting lineup wrong, he made the right call keeping him on again. But that was a hard watch. It was a really, really hard watch. And I can't help but think we made far harder work of that than we needed to. I think the loss of Jared Bowen seemed to impact us far more than it needed to. And actually, I think one of the things we probably learned in that game was the answer was on the bench all the way along, in terms of just a striker and Divin Mubama who had, a little bit more energy and could get the defenders running the other way more than Danny Ings could. Look, it's not as simple as that. West Ham weren't just doing badly in that. I can't say first half. I really can't. I've got to say, for 80 minutes in that game, West Ham weren't just doing badly for 80 minutes in that game because of Danny Ings. It would be unfair to put it on him. We lacked invention. There was times when Burnley were passing through us, and there were times they were doubling up and dribbling past us, and they looked like what they'd been practicing on the training pitch had really been working, and we were really, really struggling to sort of fathom what was going on. I mentioned Colio's show, and we had a penalty shout. VAR had a look at it. It was Soufal who had... it would have been for obstruction as much as anything else, I guess. Soufal had a really tough game against him. He's a very good player, but no surprise there. We picked him out when we did the preview. Turns out that one wasn't a penalty. I think the great irony was, I think that one was more of a penalty than the one the referee gave. In between the two penalties, or two penalty shouts, we had hardly any shots on target, hardly any, and that's a concern. I think that's a concern. When we did get one corner, I think, in the first half, it was delivered. It was the in-swinger. It was delivered to the front post. It's predictable. We keep doing it in the same way we keep doing the long throws. I think the outswinger is a lot less predictable. The in-swinger just goes. Sorry, the far post, the near post. The in-swinger just goes to the near post. It did it again in the second half, but not many shots. No real threat from anything else. I'll tell you, in the second half, straight away in the second half, Burnley came out and they came out firing on all cylinders, really. And it was that guy, Cody Osho, again. It was Kudus that had taken him down. I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not. And I'll always call it, honestly, I'll call it as honestly as I could. Did he touch him? He might have done. He might not have done. I don't know. I'm no more sure about that than I was about whether Mubama, what part of the body the ball touched Mubama and how that ball went in for our equaliser. I just wasn't sure. I thought it was a soft penalty, it has to be said. But I'm not saying we were robbed. We weren't robbed. Burnley went 1-0 up and they deserved to be 1-0 up. Burnley were the better team. So any Burnley fans watching this, I thought you would have better. I really did. I thought you deserved to be 1 goal up. But as I say, I thought the Soufal one was probably more of a penalty than that one. I thought it was unlucky. It was Jay Rodriguez dispatched it past Areola. I would like to say Areola had nothing to do apart from the penalty save, but he did. They did have some shots. Look, were they raining down shots on our goal? No, but they were threatening. Mostly on the left, down their left, down Soufal's side, but they started to have a little bit more joy on the right. And as they grew into the game, their players started to really gain some confidence of being ahead, and there was no more evident and then epitomised when Sander Berge, who's a big old lump, that old one, quick, good feet for a big man, quick feet for a big man, whatever it is. He really showed some skill, and clearly they've been given real freedom to play, Burnley. And at that point, I thought we looked devoid of ideas. I thought we're pretty dead, really. He made a couple of substitutions on the 61st minute. Moyes did, so he took the ineffective Danny Ings off, and he brought Mubama on to replace him. It was a double substitution. And I'll tell you what was interesting, actually, because he did what he did against Nottingham Forest, which he brought Edson Alvarez off. Edson Alvarez hadn't had a good game. Look, most of our players didn't have good games, as you'll see. When we do our player ratings on Patreon on Monday. There's some low scores. There will be some low scores. I can't have the fact that we rallied for the last few minutes of the game. It's going to start bumping up and masking over how crap we were before that. But it was the right call because Alvarez was. Look, I sort of don't mind if he's always going to pick up a load of cards. I sort of don't mind, really, if he gets them for tackles or for breaking up the play. But for gobbing off, come on, mate. So anyway, Moyes took him off and left Soucek on. Ultimately, it turned out to be the right decision, as it was against Nottingham Forest. What I did find the case, there was one bit was in the, it might be the 79th minute. So there was a point at the 79th minute, right as it was ticking over to 80 minutes. Divin Mubama was trying to press the Burnley defence, and he was the only one doing it. And he sort of looked round behind him and went, come on. He was trying to get the whole team. I wouldn't say we couldn't be asked, but we looked like we'd lost our belief, if the truth be known. So sometimes you need somebody to give you a little bit of a spark and somebody to give you a little bit of belief. And even though he had done most of his work very deep, Kudus, we have a really special player on our hands. And he went on a magnificent run very, very late in the game. Dribbled past a load of players and put a crossover from the byline. It was about to go out and would have gone out for a goal kick. Managed to get the ball across. And what happened there, I don't entirely know. All I can say is that the goal has been awarded to Divin Mubama. But what I will say is this. This is the third time. It's the third time that Mubama's done this. Twice in Europe last season. One of them he didn't get credited with, right? And it was an own goal. That boy knows the right position at the right time. And that's a knack. Now, here's the great irony. It's a knack that supposedly, this is the attribute that Danny Ings has. Now, I'm not going to go too hard on Ings because I don't think we provided him with any service. And at this point, maybe, just maybe, Danny Ings would have been there at that point to be able to, whatever it was, nod, shoulder, knee, whatever got that ball home that Divin Mubama did. Maybe Ings would have done that. But it wasn't Ings, it was Mubama. And I thought as I say, he had the Burnley defenders turning the other way and running in the opposite direction. And for that reason, I thought it was really good. I thought he took up a really good position and he gave Kudus a focal point, someone to drive towards and someone to ping the cross at. And I mean, it was 1-1. And I've got to say, it was an undeserved 1-1, but a very, very welcome one. But it didn't stay 1-1. I mean, well, what can I say? That was a smash and grab raid because we went on to win 2-1. And I'll tell you what it does show, despite everything else. And as I say, it was terrible game of football. That team have not stopped playing for the manager. That they really haven't. I think the lack of invention was a concern. It really was. And I think his starting lineup with Ings was good. Anyway, there's no point dwelling on all of that. When teams continually come back, and I think we need to see it once or twice more to say that it's becoming a trend. But for us to come back, then I think you're doing something right. It means you're also doing something wrong to go behind in the first place, but you're doing something right. And I think the team showed real good spirit to come back from that. So at 1-1, there was only one team going to win that game. And I said exactly the same against Nottingham Forest. If you remember, me and my fluffy coat coming out of the game against Nottingham Forest, I said then I thought we were pretty bad, for 60-odd minutes against Nottingham Forest. But once we drew level against Nottingham Forest, I thought there was only one team going to win that. And I thought the same again today. And just to make the point, he gave 7 minutes injury time. He played 8. So actually, you know what? It wasn't 10 minutes at the end of the game. We were probably all over him for about 18 minutes at the end. Maybe it's a tactic. Maybe it's not. If it is, a bloody risky one. I'll tell you that much. But it was that man again, Kudus. And a fair play, actually, to Soufal, who didn't have a good game and definitely lost his individual battle against Koleosho. Definitely did. He played the ball to Ward-Prowse, and I thought Ward-Prowse was going to whip across him from deep, and Ward-Prowse had not been good. It was Ward-Prowse was one of a number of players, West Ham players, who were not good today. But rather than him whip it across with his right foot, he gave it to Kudus, and that was the right thing to do because he was the one exceptional player today for West Ham, the one exceptional player. Don't get me wrong, Mubama really pleased. Whatever he did, he bundled the ball home. Brilliant. Well done. But he come on as a substitute. It's not like he was exceptional game. Soucek, who ends up scoring the winner, really, really well done. But I mean, again, you can't make you can try and make a case that Soucek was exceptional all day, but I would argue that point. I just thought Kudus was the best player. For large parts of that game, he was still really good. It was just because of the tactics. He was just doing it all from deep, far too deep. But and I did think he was unlucky with a penalty. But when you've got a player that talented in your team, I guess you've always got a chance. And Ward-Prowse gave Kudus the ball, put it on his left peg, and he swung in a really, really good delivery. Really good delivery. And Soucek finished really well, peeled off the back of the defender. And funnily enough, we played that ball in. And I remember Arsenal doing something similar against Burnley last week. It might have been the bit where Trossard got injured. I don't know if you remember Trossard sort of bashed into the post. Might not have been that move, but I think it possibly was. Was a similar ball, was similar to the back post. And it's clearly an area where they were weak. Again, it's something we discussed in the preview, but I don't think we'd ever really tested them at that. Great ball. Really great finish. And Tomas Soucek, the hero, once again, was really good. It was really, 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 really good goal. But I got to say, I feel a bit sheep. I'm delighted. I'm really happy. I'm delighted. We needed this, particularly after Europe, and we needed it to keep us going in the league. But I felt a bit sheepish. You know what I mean? Because it felt like a smash and grab. But any away win in the Premier League is a good away win. We did not need the bad news or the toxicity that would have surrounded losing to Burnley, who are possibly the league's worst team. I don't know. We'll find out at the end of the season. But they're there, 4 points. They're not going to have got any higher after today, are they? Let's be honest with you. So, it felt like a bit of a smash and grab. It felt like we didn't deserve to win the game, but I'm bloody pleased we did. And look, it's a conversation for another day. But David Moyes is going to need to find a way to sort something out up front. He's going to need to find a way to get Kudus more involved, higher up the pitch, more often. We'll deal with that another time. Just quickly wrap up. If you're wondering, if you haven't seen the game, you're thinking, hold on, you keep mentioning Kudus. What about Paqueta or someone? He wasn't good today. His radar was off when things didn't go his way. He was rolling around on the floor and diving about. It's really hard. Look, we've won the game. If I start going into some of the players individually, it's going to sound like it's negative, and you know what? And I got a load of crap after the Nottingham Forest game for what I thought was telling it as I saw the game, and I'm being negative, even though I said David Moyes did well with the substitutions and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to be overly negative in this one. I'll just tell you now, I did not like what I saw up to about 80 minutes in that game. But fair play to particularly Mohamed Kudus for pulling that round. And particularly, let's be fair, he's got a bit like me, he's got a bad back. He's had a long haul flight from Cormoros, and he still looked like the best player on the pitch for West Ham. And fair play to Tomas Soucek, who keeps scoring goals. He's definitely justified David Moyes' inclusion in the team. And you know what? For everything that I say, a bit about Paqueta, a bit about Ward-Prowse, Alvarez and Soucek, and we say, oh, hold on, 4 into 3 doesn't go. Soucek was, if you look at it after the end of the game today, Soucek done better than the other 3. He really did. It's really as simple as that. So, he stays in the team for me. I just felt that was unnecessarily laboured. We didn't need to make that as hard as we made it. But hey, we take the win. Brilliant to get the win. Brilliant to get the 3 points. If we do that against Palace again, we can look. Do you know what? Even if we get a 93rd minute winner against Palace or whatever it might be, and we do that again, we're looking pretty damn good in the league. It has to be said, but you can't keep rescuing these games. You have to try and get a bit more of a foothold within them. But I tell you what, whilst the games themselves, when we're actually playing in football, there can be some really boring large spells in the game. I mean, it does get rather exciting at the end, doesn't it? And I'm absolutely delighted with the fans who've travelled up there. It's cold today. Do you know what I mean? It's even cold in the shed. To be fair, they've had a good long journey up there. I know a few of them hit a lot of traffic as well today, so it was nice to hear them singing at the end. Gio's there. Hopefully he's enjoyed himself as well. I'm sure many have. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back. I'll probably be back tomorrow on the forum channel. Gio will be over on the forum channel later on today, uploading possibly from the ground just outside, something like that. Anyway, give you his thoughts. Be interesting to hear a different perspective. Summary, not great today, not great, but it was a West Ham win. And you know what? I think I'm just being thankful for that. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we will catch up with you tomorrow.